Well, there are still many questions about APD's decision to videotape police protesters. Now the American Civil Liberties Union is questioning APD's commitment to regain the public's trust. So what does APD have to say about all this? Matt has been following the developments. Matt?
Well, Liz, Albuquerque police really don't have a lot to say about this, but the ACLU certainly does. This is all about the undercover officers at this protest in Roosevelt Park on Saturday. APD says they were there to keep the peace, but would not explain how hidden surveillance would help anyone. Now the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, says this could not come at a worse time.
I also think it shows a real numbness to the community's mistrust of the APD and the need to rebuild public confidence in the
Peter Simonson there with the ACLU says the surveillance shows a shocking disregard for free speech, and it turns out APD may have violated its own policies. Police must have a reasonable suspicion that a crime has happened for them to film anyone. On top of that, APD's policies specifically ban surveillance based on race, politics, and the support of, quote, unpopular causes.
Signals to the community that officers view civilians broadly with disdain and distrust that is at the heart of the problems that we've seen in APD over the last several years.
We found out at least one of the undercover officers was with APD's Criminal Intelligence Unit, and we found out that this unit came up twice in lawsuits for conducting unconstitutional surveillance and keeping files on innocent people. This happened once in the 80s and again in 2003 when the unit infiltrated a group protesting the war in Iraq. Liz?
All right, Matt, thank you. Since Saturday, News 13 has been asking for an explanation for the surveillance, and they have remained tight-lipped. APD Chief Gordon Eden, though, is standing by the undercover surveillance. He sent us a statement last night which does not answer questions about why the surveillance was done, but rather repeats their stance that undercover officers are routinely used for public safety. It states that although the protest was peaceful, there was still a concern. Chief Eden says previous events included individuals armed with an assault rifle, others who have shut down the interstate and have damaged property. The statement goes on to say that using undercover officers at rallies meets federal guidelines.
Well, 534 state police are now saying the teen who was shot and killed by Espanola police had nothing more than a cap gun. Espanola police shot and killed Victor Villalpando earlier this month. Investigators say he called 911 saying there was a suspicious person in the area with their gun, and then gave dispatchers a description of himself. When officers got to Villalpando, they say they tried talking with him, but he pointed the cap gun at them. Officers Jeremy Apodaca and Richard Trujillo then shot the teen. State police are still investigating and will then forward the case to the district attorney's office. Well, investigators are now looking for the man they think may have some information on a homicide in Los Lunas. On Sunday, officers found Ernest Padilla's body in a pool of blood in the parking lot of the Gerald Chavez apartments where he lived. They have learned a homeless man named Adam Baisa stayed with Padilla from time to time. If you have any information about where Mr. Baisa is, please call Los Lunas Police.
A Rio Arriba County jail guard is accused of killing 2 people in an alcohol-related crash. State police say 26-year-old Justin Romero has been charged with 2 counts of homicide by vehicle. They say Romero was driving his pickup north on Highway 84 north of Espanola last Thursday evening when he crossed the center line and slammed head-on into a car. The 2 men in the car, 23-year-old Leo Gurule of Espanola and 45-year-old Carlos Archuleta of Santa Cruz, died at the scene.
Now this individual that we arrested, not only does he have to deal with the criminal charges, but he's got to live with this the rest of his life, that he took the lives of 2 people.
Romero's blood alcohol test results are not yet back, but police say they have had enough evidence to charge him related to drinking. Officials say that the influx of immigrants pouring into the U.S. illegally has the federal system overwhelmed.
And now some people in southeast New Mexico are upset that hundreds of these immigrants will be staying there. On Friday, Congressman Steve Pierce announced the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Artesia will soon be home to nearly 700 immigrants, mostly families. Right now, the law says kids from anywhere other than Canada or Mexico cannot be immediately deported. They have to be taken into U.S. custody first, and that's where this site in Artesia comes in.
It don't bother me. Don't bother me one bit. They're not hurting me here.
Who's going to take care of them? Are they going to be schooled? Where?
Artesia police say they're planning to increase patrols near the law enforcement training center. It's supposed to house families, just families, for about a week. Then they'll be deported. The U.S. hasn't said how much it'll cost to house all these families here.
A website has helped to solve a theft case in Albuquerque. This is interesting. Carrie Murphy recently had a $90 set of 1940 vintage lawn chairs stolen from her front porch. She filed a police report but had no luck finding the chairs until she wrote a post about it on nextdoor.com. It's a social network where you can keep up with all things happening in your neighborhood privately between just you and your neighbors. Well, get this, a neighbor surprisingly spotted the chairs in a Nob Hill area antique shop. The owners say they bought them from a trusted seller who got them from someone else. Now, the store did give Carrie back her chairs.
I actually had an experience where I had something stolen and got it back just through my neighbor's sort of goodwill. Is really cool, and it just makes me happy to keep living in this neighborhood.
All right, nextdoor.com, just so you know, has been around for 4 years now.